Hey y'all, it's the 15th of April, 2025. This is Aiken PBL Live Coding. We actually wrapped up our formal lecture series for this course last week. Hinson gave us one more tour of kind of some advanced features and how to construct a DApp. So we were thinking about wow, I'm stumbling right now. We were thinking about what were we thinking about? Built, just app architecture outside the code. So those videos are now live, and now for the rest of the spring, we just get to do whatever we want on Tuesdays. So we build an agenda like this. Before we went live, we were talking about some stuff that we might talk about. But here, Harsha said he had a question about the assignment in Module 103, so that feels like a pretty effective place to start. Is it okay if I hand it straight off to you, Harsha? Or
Yeah,
Newman,
yeah.
if you were going to share?
I can share because assignment is on my system.
Okay. Cool, cool.
1 second. Okay, right here. So this is the mock transaction assignment, and we have like a very simple validator that validates against a mock policy ID. We have two policy IDs. So the assignment is about minting two NFTs. So we have a validator that mints one NFT or the other, and it checks against one mock policy ID or the other mock policy ID. And the tests are like this, where the mock transaction is taken and the minting function is activated and changes up some stuff, and then it checks both of them. So always succeeds mint this and this. And similarly for the fail one, we changed the 1 second. And for yes, and for the minting, we changed the mock policy ID 2 and 3 instead of 0 and 1. And both these tests passed. But in the third test, we tried for just one NFT minting, and we put a mock policy ID of 5, and in the always succeeds we put 1, which is this is legit. But this one also passed, and we don't understand why this test passes. Does that make sense? What I just said, or do I need to like go above and like move slower?
Harsha and I worked through this yesterday, and trying to do this assignment on module 103. Uh, I guess the title is Adventures in Mock Transactions. Um, and it's the verbiage of it is create a mock transaction where two different NFTs are minted. Write a passing test and a failing test to show that both tests work as expected.
And
So,
this should
Just from
succeed.
my understanding, I think it's not necessary to have a validator in that because it's just about mock transactions.
Um,
So at least just from the description, if I remember correctly, it's enough to just have the transaction have where you mint two NFTs.
so this doesn't mint this endpoint. This script purpose doesn't mint like. So if it's a mock policy
oh,
ID, we don't need to do anything. I'm a little bit confused, Adrian.
Yeah, this is actually This is actually a potentially interesting validator. Can you show us what the tests print?
Yes. Should I make it a
yeah,
little smaller so all of them fit in? Um,
yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I can still see that. That's okay. Everybody okay with that? I'm just curious what it's printing here. Because,
Here,
well, the
as in,
last, yeah, because actually okay, try this. So run these tests and show us the results just to give everybody that context. Or is this already?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so you expect the last one to fail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Try this. Try on the very last line of that last test, change the mock policy ID to 5, right?
This one 5 and this one gonna be,
Leave that one alone, and let's just
oh,
see what this does.
okay.
So running the check, and then he's going to do -M to grab the right test, so it doesn't run all the tests.
Mhm.
So the
So
last
that
one,
failed.
So look at what your tests are actually testing. They're actually ignoring the mocktail TX. Like let's take the
Yeah.
final one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the only thing that's returning true or false right here is whether always succeeds mints. And
Correct.
it'll mint if the policy ID is the 0 or 1 mock
Mm-hmm.
policy ID. And
Mm-hmm.
every one of your other tests has one or, yeah, you have both of them in the first one. You have neither, and you expect it to fail in the second one. So, right.
Yeah.
And then the third one, now we're saying, look, this won't succeed because it's not minting one of those two policy IDs.
Correct.
well, I thought it was,
So
huh?
the
So we're
key
setting a
thing that is
transaction. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, let me see if I can, because I think I might be the low man on the totem pole as far as understanding here. Um, so let's look at the last test from 40 to 47.
Mm-hmm.
So in 42, we're creating that TX variable using the mocktail. Uh, it takes a bunch of stuff, but it only really needs the mocktail and the complete. But we're passing in the mint, which takes in those one, two, three, four parameters. The the third, the mock policy ID, takes in an integer just to give it different ones. So we're creating a transaction that's 5, and then in the always succeeds, we're passing that in, and 46, we're passing, I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but we're calling or we're invoking always succeeds mint and giving it the second parameter, which is the redeem, which is the, what, scroll up for the policy, all the way to always succeeds the validator. So it requires a policy ID. Oh yeah, so
Maybe for clarification, that policy ID you see on line 7, that will
yeah.
never be, you will never provide that as a user because that's calculated by the nodes, so by the Cardano nodes.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
That's not an argument you really give. That's just, yeah, how to say
oh,
it,
that's
Also a good point. Yeah.
more
oh,
or
so
less part of the signature of the script you want to use.
huh. So in that case, should all of them just have like an underscore before them? Because but we use them inside of
No,
validation,
no,
no?
yeah, you use it, but you will not provide it as a user. That's calculated by the nodes.
Oh, okay. So it just like takes in the reference script or whatever and then calculates the policy ID for it.
And just before we go any further, I kind of jumped ahead to one interesting thing to look at, but really the point is that Adrian already said it, right? The validator is not necessary in this file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because so what we really want these tests to do is just show whether or not tokens are minting. And we're not trying to build a validator, we're only focused on tests.
Correct.
So you can play with the validator is right. That's kind of like an interesting exercise. But what you really want to do here is change lines 26, 36, and 46 so that they're not referencing the validator at all. They're only now checking against this mocktail TX that you've defined.
Ah. So,
Checking.
ha
I'm still trying to wrap my head around what James just said. So, like the assignment says, we need to mint two NFTs, no? So, without taking this into consideration, how do we mint something?
Well, you're only doing it in a test case right here, so it's already handled on lines 22 and 23.
interesting.
Right? There's two different policy IDs. What are they? Oh, they're just the ones supplied by vodka. And you can trace those back through the code. It's kind of interesting to go into the mocktail code base and just understand that these are arbitrary strings that are hard coded.
Yeah, I traced
Yeah.
those out, and you
Sit down.
can't see them.
That's really funny.
If you did a search for vodka, it's all Tito's and whatever.
Here,
Citrus
here.
cardamom
I got
spritzer.
it. Right.
Yeah, actually, I got it up here too. Who's fast? Ah, you got it. Dang it.
No, I didn't. Like, why is this not showing? 1 second.
Here you go. Here you go. There it is.
Where do I?
I dropped it in the chat. I dropped it in
Oh,
the
you
chat.
dropped it in chat. Okay. I can't find the Zoom. Where's Zoom?
Been there. I promise we're here.
It's come to the sound of my voice. I'm over here,
Okay.
Harsha. Uh,
Oh, this is Damio.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, we got
hey,
you. What's up?
I did it. Oh my God.
that's a
Okay,
long
sorry.
trip, huh? Welcome.
Yeah, it took a minute. But I'll stay quiet
Nice,
and just follow you guys for a second.
nice. Let's get to you next, if that's cool.
Yeah, no rush.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. So basically, we're trying to track down the vodka mocktail documentation about that policy ID. Yeah, there it is, right there. Mock policy ID, which how are we invoking it? How are we calling it? Mint mock policy ID.
So are we looking for this or something else?
What you that's actually all it's a fun side quest. Let me look for it. But no, let's come back to this in just a second. Yeah,
Yeah, I answered.
that's going to take us go back to for just a second here.
Here as
This is the GitHub for the example.
is it here as in is
Oh,
it in the
sorry, I
chat?
just dropped it in the Zoom chat.
Okay.
Or you can find it on Damio. Yeah. So this model shows what you really need to do with this assignment. Okay. And so I want to get back to that interesting side quest I named just a minute ago, but just to rewind a little bit more, right? What we're trying to do is write tests like the ones that start on line 21. Okay.
I see. And then you just want to do this twice.
Yeah, the goal here is just to write an example where you're minting multiple tokens, and you've actually already done that, right? There's a case of this being a little simpler than you think.
Right.
You've already built a mock transaction that's minting two different tokens. Those tokens happen to have policy IDs, and those policy IDs are just essentially arbitrary strings in the mocktail libraries.
Mhm.
You get those with this mock policy ID. So the only reason to go into the mocktail code base would be just to see where those arbitrary strings are defined. But we don't need to worry about that at this moment.
Mhm.
All you really need to do is make sure that you can write now a test that passes. And potentially the more interesting challenge is writing one that fails, right?
Mhm.
For minting two unique policy IDs. And so one way to complete this assignment would be to show your mock transaction and show a test that fails if you try to duplicate the minting of an NFT. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Wait a
Try
minute.
that, right? Now, the syntax is also interesting, and that's why I pointed you at this. You were getting like a Boolean answer in the
Mhm.
tests that you shared originally in the form of a validator response.
Correct.
It was true if the validator was working, false if not. That's fine. And you understand that syntax already for testing validators. But this is actually taking a step back. How do I get a Boolean value for just a transaction being what I expect it to be?
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Hmm.
And what you see in
And
this,
that's
just one more note about this file, what you see here is that we're building two different transactions. And that's what we use in our tests. We're saying, look, I can build this transaction this way and I can build it another way. And look, in these tests, I can see, for example, on line 44, that mock minting TX and mock minting TX, mocktail TX, that's a great name, are the same.
mhm.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. And that's L2 mock minting TX.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's making sense. I'm still like trying to figure out what this does. Transaction dot mint.
So where is TX defined?
Right here it is. This creates the transaction object.
Where's that
Uh,
defined?
Yeah, keep going up. It should be line 4, yeah, 14
oh,
here.
right here.
It's
So
hard to see
mint.
with the
Right.
in the GitHub there, but
And so the other thing we're emphasizing in this module is that you don't need mocktail necessarily, right? You could ignore mocktail and you could build tests from scratch over and over again, like we do on lines 14 through 19. There's a mock minting TX. Who made it? We did right there in line in the code. Do I really want to
Mhm.
write that boilerplate over and over again?
over and over again. Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not. Do I have to? Let's use a test to find out. And the final test in this file answers that question. It says, well, sure, you could write your own mock minting TX, but notice that it's the same as the one we can just import from Mocktail.
Oh,
And what about the from asset in
like here, this one.
23? Seems like
Where's that being defined?
Isn't that Aiken? Oh,
Well, you can always
or
go to the top
maybe.
of the file to check your imports.
Oh, you're right. Uh,
And you're
ah,
France.
exactly
it's a
right.
Cardano
Line
thing.
one, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's the Aiken Cardano library. And yeah, you could find that in the Aiken docs.
Okay.
So it creates a value, takes the
Oh,
policy ID asset name and the quantity and creates the value.
And so where are we using that?
So we are using it to mint.
Right. Because
So
the
I'm
value is going to be the type of mint in the transaction type.
in the transaction type.
oh.
Yep.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes a little bit of sense to me. I'll read through this again.
We, and this is a little bit, I'm having memories of being the algebra teacher who was like, hey, do this esoteric thing that you actually already understand fundamentally. Because you guys, that what you did actually shows that you're ahead of the game. And this is a little bit like rewinding into just some laborious syntax just to understand a few things. The key thing to take away from this is that the purpose of this module is just to show you what Mocktail is doing under the hood.
Right.
Right? And we're basically using tests to validate that. That's actually kind of a nice thing, right? Hey, trust us with this Mocktail library. Look, here's a test to show that you can trust this library.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think that's clear. Yeah. You good, Newman? We can move to
Yeah, I
the
think so.
next.
I think we yeah, I definitely have enough to keep grinding away at it. And that does yeah. It's making more and more sense.
Okay.
Arsha and I had a epic session with it yesterday
Yeah, epic
for
failed
half
session.
hours. Yeah. Well, getting to fail is a great thing. It's a great thing because that's where the learning happens. If we would just breeze through it, it wouldn't have gone in the same way. So, but I do think not needing the validator because that was my sort of thought. I was just like, what? We're just minting the, and I kind of want to see. Actually, the thing that twisted my melon was Harsh is like, he's like, well, tell me what a wallet is. I was like, well, a wallet is a place where something. He's like, no, it's not a place. It's just a, the the middle model is not as it gets built is not exactly a clean uh birth. It's messy and there's a lot of bodily fluids and screaming and other stuff. I've never actually ever seen a birth. Although did see flipping through photos that were just sat out on a table at a friend's place at a sleepover. I saw a birth,
Yeah.
and that sticks in my mind. But other than that, I haven't seen a birth. But uh, that's why. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? Anyway, but yeah, I'm getting it. This gives us enough to get back to it, and yeah.
Um, I'm looking at the assignment again, and also kind of the lesson 3 and 4. You could just use those validators if you wanted to build some failing stuff, right? You just have to pull the actual minting transaction and the validator together. So that's a extension that's interesting. Um, but yeah. All right, I think we touched that one. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Yep.
Um, Code Cow, what do you say?
All right. Hey guys. Um, well, first off, I just want to say thank you for the course. Um, I had spent, over the years I tried, but most recently I'd spent about a month trying to get into Aiken and just not understanding it at all. I think it was the pattern matching, I think. Um, but the solution was watching James kind of stumble through it and like look at one line and say, why does this line exist? And then go into the docs and whatever. But it was this course that it was able to, allow me to build a DApp, right? This is my first DApp. Um, and so I went from zero to DApp right through the course. And anyways, just grateful for it, grateful to be here. So
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose I should try to figure out how to share my screen. I am new to the Zoom stuff, so it could take a
Oh
second.
yeah, it's so if you
I mean,
look at
it's
like where
when
the
compared
chat
to
and the
building a dApp, it's pretty easy to use. So
you're gonna do fine. But no, but
Oh,
they're different things. If you gotta, like sometimes everybody gets lost, but just if you can get to that screen where you see participants and chat,
I think I'm gonna have
uh
to, yeah, reopen this one. But okay,
yeah.
I have you on audio on my phone.
And I'm I'm looking through the Discord and oh, you've posted some things in Discord that has gotten through, but this is the double spent NFT dApp.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Nice. Okay, I can do the entire screen or a window. I guess we'll do the window, and I won't show you the code right now, but we can do that later. So, can you all see this?
Yeah, looks good.
You can see my screen. Okay, and it's the right size.
yeah, it looks good.
Okay, we're gonna enable a wallet, and all right, this is the main screen. There's three actions. You can mint, you can burn, and you can claim. And these three actions work together on a set of, I think it's five validators. Um, and this whole concept is based around the Plutus NFT from Mesh, which uses the Oracle datum to increase a count by one and ensure that fees are paid. And so I was able to take that contract directly from Mesh and just extend it. And so that's the first core functionality of the collection count, is this number that increases each time. So we're at 4 right now, and we can just try to mint an NFT and see if it works.
Go.
So this will take this. I have a cache layer set up. So there's like, I'm reading data in two ways. One is after I initialize the contract, I like pull fresh Oracle data, and that will give me the collection count. And then I do things with math based on that. And then I also have a cache layer from BlockFrost that is running the polling system every minute and updating a Firestore real-time database. And so what that's going to let me to do is track UTXOs once, like pull that from BlockFrost once, and then distribute it out through the instances of the app. But maybe I'm getting too ahead of myself. So let's refresh. I want to show you what changed. Yeah,
Not
so I
yet.
guess that the cache layer, right, is not there. Let's try to mint another one.
That's real dApp development, saving the screen and validation for last. It's great.
Okay,
Oh
so
boy.
right, that new transaction failed because the oracle is in contention. That means that first
Oh,
transaction I did is not cleared yet.
beautiful.
Yeah, right, Cardano. Lovely.
Well, that it broke, and you know, like it in a way that wouldn't just fail. You know, it gave you some real
Yeah,
understanding of what's going
it
on.
didn't fail. It's just taken a second to clear. Oh, look. Let's see.
Ah, here we go.
Um, all right, the collection count did increase
There it
to
went.
5 from 4. Um, and okay, so as I was saying before, I'm taking data from 2 different places, and this. Oh, we saw the 300. Did you see that just changed from 200 to 300?
I did, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. That's the first concept that we need to get to understand what is happening here. And that, right, every time that you mint an NFT, 3 UTXOs happen, right? A mint costs 106 ADA. 100 goes to the treasury, which is right here. And you can see that when we minted number 5, an extra 100 went to the treasury. 4 goes to the prize pool, which is over here. And we can see this is now 4. This used to be 0. And 2 goes to the developer as a fee, right? So that's me. So out of 106 ADA for the cost of the NFT, 104 of that stays within the protocol and is redeemable for different things, right? You could either redeem it from the treasury or you could redeem it from the prize pool, and those have different rules. But that's kind of important to gather, right? I'm putting in 106 ADA, and only 2 of it is leaving the protocol and going to me as a developer. The rest of it is going to be extracted from another NFT participant. Okay, so how do you extract value? And we'll come down here to the burn NFT. This is a very simple mechanism that checks the count, which is the Oracle total count of the collection, the same thing we use to mint. We use this as a reference transaction. So we're not actually spending that, but we're consuming the Oracle data. So we have the count. And then we check if the NFT that's being burnt has an asset name that's less than count divided by 2. So again, all the NFTs are just labeled as the number of the current count. So if we were to mint 6, or I mean, let's just use 5 because we have 5 NFTs minted, right? Only NFTs number 1 and 2 meet the threshold of less than count divided by 2. And so what this is happening, the reason that you burn your NFT is you're going to unlock 200 ADA in value. Or, right, the equivalent of 2 NFTs worth of treasury UTXOs, right? When you mint a new NFT, you're sending 100 ADA to the treasury. And when you burn that, if your NFT meets this threshold, then you're going to redeem 200 ADA, an 89% increase. But it's only for the first half of the collection. So if I mint when I mint NFT number 10, I'm the last in the collection. I'm the furthest from meeting this threshold. And when I bought number 10, I pushed number 5 into that threshold or whatever it is, right? And so you can kind of see, it's kind of, it has this economics of like the people that come after pay the people that come first. Okay. So here you have the dynamic of why would you buy early? And right, theoretically, it's because somebody else is going to buy after me and I'm going to be able to redeem 200 ADA for this NFT. Now, as the collection grows, those risks change, and eventually the protocol grows to where they're like, not enough people are going to come after me to buy an NFT, so I'm never going to be able to reach this threshold. Okay, and that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle. Okay, why buy late? And the reason theoretically you would buy late is because the last person to mint an NFT can claim all of these ADA. And so right now you're looking at a timer that has since expired only because of I don't have I should have set a fresh contract with a new timer, but this is from a few days ago and the timer is already opened. So what happens when you mint an NFT, you send 100 ADA to the treasury, you send 4 ADA to the prize pool, and you put your public key hash right here as the last minter, which means you're going to own this prize pool. And so if a new wallet comes in and mints number 6, whoever minted number 6, they're going to be the owner and the only one to be able to claim this prize pool. And as long as this window is open. And the trick here is that each NFT that's minted increases this window by 20 minutes. So initially, when you start the game, the window is closed and it's put out to 6 months in the future, right? Nobody can claim the prize pool until this window is open, and it's 6 months in the future. So it's locked for 6 months. And then each time somebody mints an NFT, that timer pushes $20, 20 minutes into the future every single time. So the only way to claim, to actually extract the value locked in the prize pool, is to be the last minter and then wait for nobody else to mint an NFT and the timer to expire, and then you can just claim these. And so you could do that here, and I could walk you through it. It does work. And I am the last. This wallet is the last minter, and the window's open, so it does work. So that's the thing. Maybe I didn't do a great job of explaining it. It's like really, really simple code and simple validators and simple concepts of like how it works. But I think when you put them together, you create this interesting dynamic that plays against it. It's like, and anyways, I got this idea from a contract built on Ethereum years ago called FOMO 3D that you can look. It was very successful and ended up failing due to the prize pool contention. They were able to like reorder the blocks and like there was mining wars at the end of it, fighting over the prize pool, and everybody that had bought before that was just like getting pushed into the threshold of profit, and these bots were competing for that last piece, and they were like, it's so much so it was so valuable that I mean, they were pushing the limits of the blockchain. You know, they were actually like forking chains and doing all this to try to skew the timer so they could win the money. And anyways, that is really interesting to me. And again, the dynamics that we get from simple rules is the other thing that's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, maybe you guys have questions. Maybe I didn't explain things well, so I'll open it up.
My question
Wow.
is that timer also on chain?
The timer is on chain. It's basically it takes the collection count times a slot increase, which I do as 20 minutes or 120 slots, or sorry, 1,200 slots, right? So this would be 5 times 1,200 plus the initial starting point, which is whatever you set it when you create the oracle. Like I said, when I do it on mainnet, I'll start it maybe 6 months in advance, and then yeah, it's all calculated on chain.
What will happen if there is 500 of 500 ADA in the treasury?
Yeah, so the treasury gets paid to double spend. So that's section action when you burn. So what this is saying is because our collection count is 5 over the lifetime, 500 ADA has been put into the treasury, but this whole value, like this should technically be 0, because if an NFT is burnable here, then they should go ahead and burn it and claim that money from the treasury. So if this was 500 out of 500, that means that no NFTs have been burnt. But theoretically, this should stay under 200, because as soon as it hits 200, another NFT is eligible to be burnt, and then that person should go ahead and burn it and collect the ADA, dropping this back down. So this will be like a real-time counter. This would be the lifetime value, and then this is the actual UTXOs in the treasury.
What do we think about this? I'm super, super stoked. This is exactly what I had in mind when I learned about what a blockchain and a programmable money was about. Like these, like you said, like complex dynamics, sociological, game theory, competition, and dynamics like that from simple rules. And it's something that it's like playing with the Ponzi-nomics in this sort of this very real human thing.
And
And
transparent.
oh yeah, and very transparent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not in a way that hides the
Yeah,
game of it,
yeah.
which so many of it was a hidden thing where there were some people that knew, and and that was like why it got such a bad sort of reputation. But this sort of takes that and plays with it. It's like, oh yeah, this is. I don't know. I love the idea of a game. I love the idea of and it's yeah, it's really really wonderful. I yeah yeah.
I like
What
the
you can do with just a
presentation
simple
too.
things.
Yeah, it looks really good. The experience is neat. Um,
Yeah yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
The beautiful UI.
The each NFT there's like a math equation
nice.
to get the NFT, right? This is it to get the image. And it right, so these are all the different NFTs that it creates.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm curious with this, guys. I'm storing these on my personal website. Right, if we come here, I'm confused with the new.
Right, the new Eternal is changed everything up.
Yeah, where's my NFT?
I think everyone is confused with the new one.
I think it's over in assets. So if you go on the left-hand column down, and then yeah.
Oh, but which collection is it? I've made so many of these.
Oh boy.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. My point is I wanted to show you the metadata, which is the image is stored just on a Vercel app. And so this won't be the same website as my DApp. Maybe right. It's a different Vercel app, but I'm not putting it on IPFS because this is free. And I don't to me, the image is such like the fluffy, non-important part of this whole thing. Like you buy it for the collection, you buy it for that part of where I am in the collection count, not because of the art. So, anyways, is that a bad idea?
That's a question to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you all think? Yeah. I think
Uh,
that makes sense just on face value. Yeah.
you said, and yeah, the image is not the important part. I think it doesn't matter. I would even argue that you don't need any image on it.
Correct. Yeah. I mean,
Ah,
it doesn't. It makes it look like this, right? Like I use these images for this background and like this changes every time. And so it's like not part of it at all, but at the same time it like why not? I mean, right, you pay for it. I thought about storing the function on chain, and then I was like, well, that's just not worth the money, right? Um, but yeah.
I mean, I think the design is important for everyone that's not going to make money. Like there'll be a bunch of people that were.
how can people say I did it for the art? The art is beautiful, and that's why.
Yeah. I have
Actually,
a diagram chart that shows oh yeah, right here. Right. Oh,
Yes.
one zoom
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah. This is what your teaser image was. I was like, what
Yeah,
is this
I
code
know.
cow about?
So
Yeah, I love it.
this
I
is
love it.
so cool because I think this diagram explains it all. Okay, so the eligible are the people that are going to be able to burn, and the art, right? What Harsha just said, it's the people that buy late and then don't actually cross that threshold. But when you are buying, everybody's asked the same exact question. And this is really beautiful to me. Is like no matter what the collection count is, when you're buying it, you know what it is, and you're theorizing it's going to more than double, right? If you say, I'm going to get into the threshold, I'm going to be eligible, then when you're buying, you're theorizing that the protocol will double, right? Wherever you are, if the count's at 1,000, it needs to go to 2,000 and two or whatever, right? Like it just has to double plus one. And so that's why you have this theorized of 50%. Because the protocol has to double. So like you're standing at the front, everybody's right here. They all asking the same question. They're trying to get here. They know when they're buying it as art because it's not eligible for anything when it's bought. Only if the collection grows to double can it be eligible. And so here you have something where like everybody's kind of working together. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but.
Code cow, what are you, man? This is so nuts. I love it. I absolutely love it. It makes me feel good about like the experiences that we've had 3 years ago. Scott, what do you think? Did you go in for all of the Ponzonomics rush?
No.
No, good for you.
Hmm.
I suppose I did a little bit, but I had
Try
a
not to
buddy. I
get
always get a
serious.
buddy that talks me into stuff. You know, I don't.
Limit your friends, Newman. Limit your friends.
That's why I'm sticking with you, Scotty. That's why I'm sticking with you.
The most pessimistic person in Cardano.
That's
Awesome.
right. That's right. I keep you shoulder to shoulder. No, won't get too far off the track. I mean, Code Cow, how did you come up? I mean, tell us more. I mean, I just know I don't I just know you a little bit through this project, really. Did I mean, are you a game designer or where'd you come from, man?
I'm a chef and a software engineer. Um,
Good
I like
combo.
I said, I saw this from FOMO 3D years ago,
Ah,
and ever
right,
since
right.
then, it's the only thing that's like really interesting to me, or better, it's the most interesting thing that I've seen come out of crypto was that contract. And I remember asking myself a while ago, just like why do I keep thinking about this? Why do I keep thinking about it? Stop, go away, get
Yeah,
out of my brain. But
yeah,
like, no, it's this contract is this kind of dynamic that like really plays with like, everybody fighting. It's game theory. They're fighting for their own interest. They're trying to win the most money, but actually, like everybody's kind of on the same team. Uh, and you just create interesting things.
yeah,
I really don't know. It just stuck with me, and I thought I have to build it. So here we are.
yeah. Love it.
So I have the code, and after the last session, watching Hinson go through the specifications, that's what I worked on this last week. So I have nice documentation that kind of outlines the entire contract. Um, and yeah, I don't really know. Like it's simple to the point where I do think it could just get pushed out on mainnet with open source code. And if you don't want to buy it, then you don't. But like if you know, otherwise, like look at the code and make it that assessment for yourself. Um, or like I think it would be really awesome to work with all of the guys here and perform an audit on this and then kind of launch it together or whatever. I don't right however that looks. I don't really know what that looks like, but um just kind of right, like if we go through this code and we perform an audit together, then the code would forever be open source for everybody else to look at it. And that is my intention. I'd like to I'll open source the whole code base, including the block frost cache layers and everything I have. Like that's not really concerning to me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess because this is my first one, I have ideas of how this stuff works. I've watched these lessons, but it's just it's silly to assume I know everything that's going on. Right. So that's why I think it would be much stronger to release this with a team like Gimbalabs looking at the code, um, as opposed to here's my first DApp ever. Now let's put 1,000,000 ADA into it. Right. Like
Right.
I'm not comfortable asking anybody to do that right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, so yeah, Gimbalabs stakeholders, what are the first thoughts that come to mind? It almost feels like the technical part is easy, but what infrastructure would have to be in place to help on this kind of follow through?
Hmm. Uh, Perhaps that, well, I mean, I'm thinking of the UX, the user testing part, as something like an initiative that's already been started, and then perhaps like a student project to sort of, you know, because of that learning function that we do around here, uh, like as a student project to go through and audit and pull out concepts, bit many in there. Uh, can you think of any other things like have we has Gimbalabs ever done anything like a partnered project? Other than like general support, like giving opportunity to like share and ask questions and maintaining and doing the course and providing lectures like Henson's you know specs and all of the other than providing the course, this is the Code Cows project from doing the Aiken course, or I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah, that's sort of, yeah. Um,
It doesn't
like
have to
a
be, right? I don't need to release it with you guys, right? Like I want to. I think it's cool. And
yeah.
and as you just put exactly, this is a result of your course. So I'm just, kind of here talking to you
Yeah.
guys, being thankful. And like if you want to do something cool, I do too. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Could, could,
didn't Sebastian go ahead?
well, yeah, I mean, could you imagine treating this like one of those 50-50 raffles that you have at like a community picnic? And you could put this out into the community and say, look, here's a fundraiser for education services at Gimbal Labs built by a student in the course. And this is a way, if you want to donate to Gimbal Labs, you could actually donate and win a little bit.
Yeah, right. So it's possible to put you guys into the script. it changes the dynamics, right? Like I'm only going to get 2 ADA from here. So like right now the only fee is 2 ADA. So sure, could I share some of that with you? Absolutely. Could we change the script and bake more of a fee into you? I think, I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is potentially a better mechanism to launch and raise funding, as opposed to an ICO or a meme coin drop, like some sort of mechanism that actually rewards the participants in it, but also extracts value for, like, the whole reason, right, is to raise value. So yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the dynamic of it, or because like you said, you could change the those redeemer points that you got right now. You got 3, but you could do whatever
Whatever.
you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it changes that dynamic, right? Like my goal right now is I'm trying. If there isn't enough value at the end, then people aren't going to fight for it. If there isn't enough value at the beginning, then people aren't going to mint the initial ones to put the amount in the fund. So like you really,
Right.
it changes it, and whatever that is. So yeah, but again, it's like if this works, if this is something, it's like not right. We can theoretically spin up many of these contracts. It's super easy. A new param UTXO, and you have a brand new contract. But like to me, it seems like if one of these works, then like we have a new mechanism to raise money, and yeah. So I think like my first idea would be I'd be willing to split some of my money more than I'm be eager to change these values and like make less money stay in the protocol. Yeah. But anyways, all of that could be decided. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I don't want to be I'm like, right, I'm more concerned about the protocol and proving the concept than I am about making all this money right here. So if Gimbalabs can help me prove the protocol and launch this and get this out, like sharing some of that money is like, of course, I want to do that. Absolutely. But like my goal is like, my goal is more to get this thing out and test it in the real world and see if these dynamics work. Like, can we get a prize pool where people actually compete for that pushes all of the early NFTs through the threshold?
Right. And so to be more direct, this is what I'm asking Gimbalab stakeholders to think about. Building this is in many ways the easy part. Bringing it to market from experience is the hard part. And so people at Gimbalabs need to think hard about A, do we want to invest the time in helping to bring a product like this to market? And B, does it fit with our primary driver, for example, to do so? One opportunity that Code Cow brought us directly was, hey, what if we just help to audit the code? And that's something that I know several people here. Is Mix here? Mix is very interested in thinking about auditing. Hinson has some experience there. And I know that Adrian could support that. But that's one thing. And I think that's relatively direct. But bringing a product to market is a different endeavor. I'm not against it, but it's something that people at Gimbalabs need to think hard about. Does that fit into everybody's vision of what you're working on in the next however many months?
And yeah. Henson and Nelson, anyone else like a question or clarifying? Yeah, Henson.
For me, to be frank, Dean Kokar asking questions here and in Mesh Discord and to this product, I'm super impressive. And generally, I'm supportive of all the ideas. But to be super frank, I shouldn't have the capacity to follow up any of these. But personally, I'm also interested in seeing how this thing evolves. So yeah, I could be by the side like a satellite, giving some little comment here and there.
You guys
Yeah.
have been so helpful in Mesh, dude. You don't need to do anything more. You've been awesome. I love it. So thank you.
Yeah, very glad that you have reached this stage, actually. Not that
Right?
easy to persist and debug all the way through.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I didn't think I'd even get here. So, right, we've made progress.
Yeah, super impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and that is something to think about. Like, look at how, because I think that the auditing, well, there's a couple of things. The idea of, hey, here is a project from the Aiken course. Like it really, and Sebastian mentioned this, is like this needs to be highlighted and supported. Um, and just, I mean, that could be a step towards marketing that wouldn't take, too much time, attention. I would say that because it is asking for, it is an ask of the community, then, a proposal, to bring up in open spaces and just say, oh, and maybe, you know, people people sort of discount like just a small advertising budget, 500 ADA to put, ads in something or to sponsor something, I think would be really cool as like a little, hey, you went through the course, you were a good community member and represented for, you know, I don't know, putting that you could make some type of marketing effort or advertising effort like that would attach Gimbalabs's and our courses and our community's name to this project, this art, blockchain, Cardano, UTXO sort of thing. I think that would be cool. There's a little bit of danger in it because of the Ponzi and that stuff, but I think it's open and frank about it, and it helps people to understand what that is so that possibly they don't get uh caught in that type of thing, in an unknowing fashion. I love the idea of the raffle 50/50. That in my mind is really cool. Actually, I love the computer generated art. I think that's actually a pretty cool thing. Yeah, so I this is a wonderful and dynamic sort of thing, and I'm happy to see, sort of like Henson says, I'm really interested to see how it will work, and I hope that Gimbal Labs, it stays connected with it, and I'd be supportive of, you know, like highlighting that this is a result of the work that you can do in this community.
Yes, yes. What's everybody else thinking?
Is there a link of the source code share here? I joined late, perhaps I didn't say it. Just curious.
I have not shared the code yet.
I see.
Just to clarify, in terms of like bringing to market, the thing I'm most concerned about of anything would be really just understanding the code and just making sure that I understand the code, that like because it's doing everything, like it's failing where I want it to fail. It's succeeding where I want it to succeed on every single way. It's just I don't have enough experience to know that like that's enough. And so that's really what I'm looking for. The tweets to market, all that sure could be helpful, could be awesome. I'm interested in whatever you guys are interested in, but like it's really, just like having confidence about the code. That's really that's what I need help with.
Yeah, and that's what I took away from Discord. I think the audit is the thing, and I think doing a live audit at live coding is
Yeah,
a really good idea that we could start that next session without a problem. Um,
that could be really cool. Yeah.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that.
On the on-chain part, I think I could help to take a look, though I can't commit anything, but yeah, just kind of curious, and maybe I could also give a bit comments.
Yeah. And if we do it in the live setting, we're not investing any additional time, right? That's for me, that's
Yep.
always the main concern. I like Hinson. I love this idea. I'm really glad it exists. I don't have any time to allocate it to it at this moment, but
Understand.
certainly willing. I think it's a wonderful idea to use this space to go through the code, get some feedback on it. If anybody's interested in looking at it more closely, that's a deal that people can make at any point.
Yeah, so the live sessions means that there's no additional time or resources.
Yeah.
But perhaps, Code Cow, it might be something that if you wanted to draft a proposal to ask for some, commitment from a community member, maybe, one of these folks wants to do something, yeah, and then that might be a reasonable proposal that we could consent to and kind of get into our thing. I'm kind of curious if like branding or some type of like Gimbalabs partnership, or like, hey, this is a project of like how like we connect Gimbalabs with it. It's just something that I don't see a lot in the ecosystem. Like all of our Catalyst projects really should have a big stamp that says, hey, this is an amazing thing that we want to be proud of. Like, hey, we're funded, and Catalyst should be really embraced. And I really appreciate that you're like looking to embrace and sort of show your connection with Gimbalabs. It's just, how do we do that in a very real world thing? Is there like a little logo in the corner, like a PBS show, or is it, presented by up in the top somewhere, or you know what I mean? Like, how do people, when they work with it, understand that it's, this student, art funding, project, that
Yeah,
in my
I
mind
think you
is,
guys would
yeah,
need to
yeah,
decide and discuss, if you want that, because you may not want to put your logo on my thing. It could be many different reasons why you just don't want to
certainly.
do it. Um, I'm open to whatever you guys are. That's just in general, that's where I stand. If you
Yeah,
wanted to do that, sure, let's talk about it. If you don't want to put your
yeah,
logo anywhere near mine, no problem. I don't, it's not an issue at all. So
yeah,
whatever you guys want to do. But I think going through the code in a live session would be awesome. I think if we do that, our brands are going to be attached one way or
yeah,
another because we have
yeah,
this live coding session. I'm going to be using that as marketing material myself, right?
yeah.
Like, so whether your logo's on the website or not, you could let me know if you wanted it. But if we go through that, we're already going to have like a bunch of a real association. So
Yeah.
That sounds like a great next step.
I love it.
And just looking at the calendar, so there's no Gimbal Labs sessions next week. We got Builderfest going on, so a bunch of people will be moving here and there. But we're going to
Yeah.
pick up this session on the 29th, so 2 weeks from today. Code Cow, that agenda is all yours if you want it, and you don't have to decide now. Just let us know in Discord.
cool, cool. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate this time and this course and everybody here. Really, thank you.
Good things.
Oh
Oh,
my
it's so
goodness.
cool to see a product
Oh
coming
my
out of that.
goodness.
And I completely resonate with the idea of just, at the end of the day, it's nice to let people know, hey, here's a project that happened because of this course. And that's definitely a high priority for me, just
Yep.
because I think that builds confidence in other people. Hey, oh, I got an
It
idea that I want
worked.
to build. Let me follow through with that.
Yeah, it
Yes.
works, right? Like it really, that's exactly what I went through. I had an idea and I watched your stuff. And also just to throw in there, I've watched other stuff too. There is no better content to understand these concepts. Not even close to it.
Thanks, man. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to me also.
Henson, it was fun building this thing. When can we build another one?
What's next? Yeah, what's next? What's next, Henson? What's next?
Not sure. We could maybe James and I could discuss something out in Builder Fest.
I get
But
to I get to
irony is
see
like,
Henson's apartment in a couple days.
yeah,
Oh, you're going.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna
you're
I'm
going.
gonna
Nori's
have
going.
some, I don't know, should I have some whiskey or vodka in the whiskey or
yeah,
vodka?
exactly this place.
The devs.
Exactly this place.
Excited to share a selfie from there.
Oh my God, that's gonna be beautiful. Yeah, that's so cool.
And what irony is that after all these years, my first time meeting James probably in person.
Oh my God. We've spent some time
Sure.
together.
Yeah.
Oh man, really rad.
Good things.
Yep. But overall, a note for me is if everything's is open source, I think the risk of brand attachment is pretty low from the point of view of Gimbalabs or anyone, I think, because it's more of a kind of a product of, yeah, like after this course, the student could build this thing out.
Here's
It's
the
kind of
thing.
awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100%. And if it was open source, imagine in a future developer course if this was one of the assignments. Hey, play with
Mm.
this app on pre
Yeah, exactly.
learn to use it.
Exactly.
That's very, very interesting. And then to the longer term business prospect of it, I do think it's exciting, Code Cow, that you're thinking about this as a fundraising mechanism. This is something that maybe has a place more in the ICO world even than NFT trading, which I do think that's interesting to explore, and open sourcing it will open you up to those conversations.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because
I'm not sure if I would have open sourced it maybe a couple months ago in what we're discussing now, but this is exactly what I want.
Yeah, that's very
I
cool.
want it to all be open source. I'd love for it
yeah,
for you guys to utilize it in however that makes sense. Like you just described, some possible ways, but put it out there, get it out
yeah,
there, and then on to the next one. I got another couple ideas.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, here's
I
the thing
could.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's also good for you as a learning also. That's how you get feedback much faster. It's not just on this thing alone. It's like for your next project or next project, it's super good.
I like that. Get
Yeah.
feedback faster. Yeah. I mean, I could see it being a part of sort of community development. I know that the 50/50 or the raffle thing, like I was introduced to it. I don't know where I don't know if we're Hinson if they do that in Hong Kong where they have a 50/50 raffle, but they do it at Major League Baseball parks. And but then I started noticing it like at any community gathering where there's 25 people and they're like, yeah, we're doing split the pot. And people just throw dollar bills into a literal plastic pot. And then at the end of it, they pull out numbers and and they're like, oh yeah, we get, it's such like a cool thing. And then 50% of it goes as a donation and then the other person wins. And then generally that person that wins like buys stuff for other people and they're like, hey, drinks or here's the thing, or I'm ordering this, and they're super happy. I've done it. And um it I'm curious, like what you're saying, Kokal, is uh like wouldn't it be cool if this little tool that you created becomes like a community thing where just, oh, there's 10 of us here. Oh, we just mint and see like what this for the next season of I don't know. I could see it being a part of community organizations. Um and that yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just for me, as a kind of startup founder, it's super difficult for me to buy in an idea. Like whether this is working or not. Usually I'm very consciously conservative on whether something's working, like making comments like this. But from a higher level point of view, this is a student's project out of Aiken PBL. Just this alone, I think is super good from my point of view. Yeah.
What are you saying? You think it's gonna work?
I don't know. It has to take much more
No,
time
he's
to think
saying
about it.
no, he's
Yeah.
saying it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Harsha thinks it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. I mean, it is working.
It is working. Hinton, did you write the Plutus NFT code? That contract?
Yeah. I write every code that you can see.
All of that, yeah. Well, I mean, it's at least 50% of this contract is straight from that. And the other 50% is like taking those concepts that I were shown and just using them again and a couple other things. But anyway, so you kind of helped, you created this, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But being able to amend those scripts is not that easy, I would say. It's very very impressive from my point of view. You can make this far. And frankly, since you're using Plutus NFT contract, I could give you a bit of the history of this set of script. It's meant to be more complicated. Like at least have to get 5 to 6 scripts to make these things work. Like work in a sense of parallel maintain and a lot of other things. I intentionally trimmed it down into simpler version so that people could comprehend and understand easier. But if you could do this kind of step going back to the kind of more historical shape of it, it's pretty impressive from my point of view, actually.
Wow. So now I am super stoked to be back here. It's like a teaser. It's just like, oh no, it's not next week. You're gonna have to wait. It's Christmas time. You're gonna have to wait until but that is gonna be a real special when we get back together on the 29th.
Yeah.
To review the code and Code Cal, are you cool with that? Can we put you on the schedule?
Yeah, I'd like to. I'd also like to do it, this afternoon, not in 2 weeks.
Nice.
No, we can do that, whatever works for you guys. As summer progresses, I get less and less on the computer. Coding is really a winter thing for me. And this was one of the reasons I kind of felt pressure to like get this out. It's like, and do it because, I mean, in June, I'm not on my computer all day. In December, sure, I'll code for 18 hours, but I do other things in the summertime. So, I don't know. Of course, whenever you guys have time, I will try to make it. Let's put this thing out open source, and then try to get it on mainnet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Beautiful.
We got a good one to look forward to in a couple weeks then. Live code review. Thanks everybody. Look us up. You can find a link to this session, gimbalabs.com/calendar, where you will find us in 2 weeks. Next week, a bunch of people traveling for Builderfest. Hope to see some people there. Till next time. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.